Welcome back, everybody, to the Attract and Stand Out podcast. I'm your host, Darlene Holly, and I am so excited for today's interview. I have Miss Brittany May here with us. She is a girl mom of two, a military spouse, and runs two businesses from home in Germany. Her biggest passion is to help other women streamline and create smarter systems in order to not only save them time, but scale their business simply. She believes running your business should be exciting, fun, and simple, and her goal is to help as many female entrepreneurs as possible achieve their simple, happy life, which is totally in alignment with how I run my business too, because you guys know I'm all about more ease and way less hustle in our lives. So Brittany, welcome to the show today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you. It's great to see you, and I'm excited to see where today's conversation goes and see what we get to talk about. So let's start with introduce yourself. Tell everybody, who is Brittany?
Yeah. Oh man, what a question. No. So yeah, I'm Brittany, and basically my fancy title is a digital strategist and a business coach. But basically the gist of it is I'm a giant systems nerd, and I just love being able to streamline and make businesses more efficient, because my passion is really just helping moms that are passionate about their businesses, but like we were just talking about before we got on air, we have so many other things on our plate. So it's absolutely essential that we have those smarter systems in place so we can, be profitable and get more done, but in less time. So it's actually realistic for us and our lives.
Yeah, exactly. And you're a busy mom, as I am.
Yes.
So we're
Yes.
in this new day and age where our kids are home with us full time, we're running businesses full time, and we're trying to figure out, like, at least I'll speak for myself. I'm trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing most days, because
Right.
everything there and changes kind of on a day-to-day basis. I keep joking with people. I'm like, I feel like it's almost like Groundhog's Day. It's almost like the same
Oh yeah.
over and over again. There's just like a new piece to it each day, but it's like you wake up and you're like, okay, what's going to happen today? And you're like, oh, nope, we're still staying inside. We're still staying home. We're still, virtually schooling kids and doing all these different things. And I'm like, when is it going to be like where the groundhog sees its shadow and like we go back to normal?
I know. Yes. Like now it's more important than ever, because so many people were thrown, into this when maybe they had, reliable childcare, or, like whatever that looked like, or they got to go to an office, so yeah, everyone's been kind of thrown into this crazy, crazy day.
Yeah. And it's funny because like my youngest is 6 now, and he's going to be going into first grade. And I have for like the past year been like, okay, I have one more year of like kindergartens, so like that. It's that like funky year where they go to school for like a half day. So you're back and forth to the school campus. And I'm like, okay, next year I get to like plan my work day to where I'm specifically just working while the kids are at school. And there's not going to be like those weird breaks in between where I'm like working between the nooks and crannies. And I'm like, and then COVID happened. And I'm like, oh, just kidding. I'm like, it's even crazier than it was for kindergarten.
Before, I know. Yeah. You think your schedule's messed up because of that. And now this, I know, it's crazy. Yeah. My oldest is actually 5. So same boat, where it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to offload one kid. This is going to be awesome. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with all my time. And then it's like, oh no, just kidding.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
But that's like the beautiful part. Like, and I think you started your business similar to me, where like that was part of our why to it. We wanted to be able to be home with our kids. We wanted to be able to be super involved in our kids' lives. And I'm so glad that like as crazy as this opportunity and time is, like I get to work from home. I get to figure out what the schedule looks like, and I get that gift. It's not like I don't have to work for a company where I'm trying to like balance and like stressed out all the time. Like we have the flexibility and the freedom that we so desired, and we just get our kids around a little bit more.
Yeah, right. No, I 110% agree. Like I don't know how the women that do have, that are working for companies or being told when and where they have to be, how they're really doing that and managing, especially through these times. So yeah, we're very, very grateful despite, the crazy days.
Exactly.
So yeah, Yeah, it's definitely awesome. But that's why the systems, like I can't imagine not having smarter systems in place because, it's like, okay, if I'm stressed out now, like imagine what it would be like without those.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
So tell me a little bit about how did this come to be a passion business for you, with
Yeah.
helping people set up their systems and getting organized, because so many people need support in this area.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've got a bit of a crazy story. So I was actually an entrepreneur before I was a mom, back what those days were. And so I was into fashion design and I started on my sewing machine that I got when I was like 7. I got it for my 7th birthday and wound up running 6 of my own brick and mortar stores. And so I loved it. Like it was absolutely everything I dreamt of and, what I was going for, but I worked around the clock. And it was nonstop. Like I ate, slept, dreamt, breathed like my job. And so it wasn't until my oldest was born that it was like, what am I doing? This can't go on. And that's really when kind of the missing puzzle piece clicked for me. And it was all about, okay, I need to work smarter, not harder. Because before her, that in my head, it was, oh, if I'm working harder, that looks like longer days. That looks like longer hours, right? So I was working nights, I was working weekends and like holidays. It was retail. So that's when we made the most money. So I was absolutely there. But wasn't willing to trade that anymore when my daughter showed up, because your whole world shifts and your priorities and you're like, I don't want to leave her. And the daycare drop-offs, the drama and the tears, more from me probably than her. But yeah, it was terrible. And I was like, I can't do this. So felt like I was faced with the question that I'm sure so many women can relate to, where it was like, okay, do I follow my passions and have the career of my dreams? Or do I be the best mom that I can be? And I really didn't like either of those options because you feel like you're missing out on, with either of those choices. So I created that third and I actually transitioned my entire company all online. So I could keep following my passions, keep pursuing my dreams and building, my business that I had built and put everything into that was really my first baby, before my actual baby. And then to still be there for my daughter. So now, and she's in the room with me now, and she's like, oh, she's normally not here. We're on vacation. But yeah, so that's really how I got started. And it was kind of through that a lot of like makers and just that whole retail industry that is so prone to burnout reached out to me and they were like, how are you doing this? How did you do that? And so really it actually Simply Happy Life started as a blog, and it was just to give tips to business owners to help, make some of their products evergreen, the automations that I did, what that process looked like for me. And then it quickly, it's now my full blown, like I absolutely love it even more than my first business and just helping other women. And I love being able to like really dig into businesses and being like, I love just asking the question, like, because there are no rules. Like you said it earlier, we get to make our schedules. We get to make what it looks like. And that applies to the entire business. And that's like where it just makes my heart happy. Like I get to go in and be like, okay, what could this look like? And I love structuring the business around people's lifestyles and not the other way around. So it works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so many people fall into the trap, right? They leave corporate, they leave retail management. That's my background too. I didn't realize that we had that in common. My background was retail management as well.
Okay. So
Oh, I specifically left because I couldn't be the mom that I wanted to be because I was working 60 plus hours a week. I was exhausted. My schedule changed every single day. I didn't know whether I was coming or I was going, and I couldn't take my son to soccer practice. Like I'm like, there's things I should be doing as a mom and I can't do them with the schedule. Like that lifestyle did not welcome like the family lifestyle into it.
It
like
does not.
It kept me on my toes nonstop. I was, for heaven forbid, I take a vacation. Like there was somebody
coming
to walk my
what
store,
is that?
or this was coming out, or this was happening. So I'm like, I can't take time off. I can't do anything I want. I'm like, I feel like I'm handcuffed here. Like I can't keep living this life. And so I had the same type thing where I'm like, I want to be a mom more. Like I just actually wrote a blog post last week about this, that I'm a mom first and I'm a business owner second. Like it could be the other way around. And it was at different points in my career, like where I was like, I had to put work first. Like, this is like how I support I was a single mom. Like I had to make money with my oldest son. Like I had to, like, that was what I had to do. But there came that point where I was like, no, like there's different ways to do this. Like, this is not the only way. Like, there's no way that I have to put my career as on the front and my family on the back burner. Like this can't be how life is supposed to be. And I had to like, go through the motions and like start figuring out what the heck I wanted to do with my life and like what that looked like. But I definitely had those moments in retail management where I was like, no, like I'm not doing this anymore. It's time for a change. It has to happen now. So I can totally relate to like loving what you did, but knowing like that this wasn't the way it was going to work for you in your life.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, even I was actually a single mom too. So a lot in common, but my mom would end up taking my daughter to doctor's appointments. I mean, like massive major milestones. And it was just heartbreaking. And it was like, what am I doing this for? You know? So it's like pointless at that point, you know, if your family's not first. So
and there's that part of you too. You're like, well, I'm doing this for my family.
Which like the money so we can, you know, have a roof over our heads and food on the table. Absolutely. But and sometimes you have to do what you have to do. But when it's your business and you're in control, I was like, there's got to be another way, you know, like what if it looked like this, and, you know, take a step back and start putting, you know, your lifestyle first, and then you build around it rather than just like you said, because it's so many, entrepreneurs, I think, come from that 9 to 5. And we have, even if you didn't have that, I think we have that ingrained in us from the school age. And then you go and you structure your business, and that's what everybody else is doing. Right. And so you try to do that, and it doesn't work. And with a family lifestyle or young children, and, you know, they get sick, and then what, you know, so everything's thrown out of whack. So it's just, you've got to really put your lifestyle down first, like literally write it on a paper, girl. So write it down on the calendar and then start logging in. And that might be, you know, during nap time for you, or wake up early, or work evenings, or just work weekends. You know, it looks different for everybody. So it's just, and there is no one size fits all. I don't believe that.
And I know for me too, it was like that change in that mentality when I started my business. Like, I don't have to work 60 hours a week anymore. Like, I'm actually really productive, and I was wasting a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
Like working like at the store and doing all these different things. Like, I was just having a conversation this week with somebody who, with COVID happening, like they're working from home right now, and their company is allowing them to stay working from home because they realize that their employees are actually more productive at home. They don't need to work 10-hour days. They can do it like in 6 hours, but they can still pay them the same, but they're getting the job done. Like, I think so many companies were afraid to let their people work from home because they thought they were going to like goof off and waste time.
Yeah. And like YouTube cat videos.
YouTube cat videos, laundry, like all those things that nobody wants to do. But they're more productive. And I'm like, I found that for myself and my business too. Like, I don't work over 30 hours in a week ever anymore. Like 30 hours is like my max. Like, that's like the high side of hours that I work. And I'm able to create a full-time income based off of that without having to work 60 hours to get that same income. So I think like that's one of the things that I'm sure like with your business too, that you teach, like setting up the systems and the processes that you need to have in place so that you can work smart and not hard. And do it with ease and do it in a way that feels good. Cause I know for myself, like that was huge. Like when I had that realization, like I actually don't need to waste time. Like I can just come in, do like the important tasks on my list that need to be done today, meet with my clients, do my calls, and then I'm done. Like I don't have to hang out in the office for 8 hours because that's what
just because. No, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I truly believe like time just expands. So if you could have this, if you allow yourself 8 hours to do it, you're going to take the 8 hours to do it. But if you give yourself 2 hours, guess what? You're probably still going to get it done, and it's going to be even better because you're going to focus in on the key things that need to get done. Like I work part-time and I run 2 businesses and and I volunteer and have 2 kids, 5 and under. So it's like, I work less now than I did when I first started my business. I worked around the clock, and now like I laugh looking back, like some of the things that I was like, what was I doing? Like I hand painted an entire new store like, what? I'm not a painter. Why was I doing those things? Like I had to have my hand in every single project, and I wanted, to touch off on every single thing. And it was like, what was I doing? It was lack of boundaries. It was lack of delegating. Like, it was terrible.
Yeah.
and I like, I'm sure those stripes were pretty crooked, like a professional painter probably would have done a lot better job, and it would have saved me a lot of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really realizing, what is important. You focus on the things that you thrive at and that you love doing. And that are, for me, I am, like I say, I'm unapologetically profit focused. So if it's not bringing the business and money, then we do not care about it,
It's not
so
a
it's
priority.
gotta be, it's not, it's really not. And I do not believe in busy work. So like all the Gary V's of the world that are like, you need to be everywhere and you need to be like, no, like I'm not about that life. So
Yes.
no, thank you.
I am so with you. Yeah. Like that, like you don't have to be everywhere. Like spend your time where you're going to get a return for it. Like there's an ROI involved. There's a reason for you to do it. But yeah. So what do you find then is like the biggest thing that you help your clients with when it comes to making those shifts? Like, is there like a pattern that you're seeing as you work with clients?
Oh my gosh.
Like,
So I always like preface it before I start with anybody new. I'm like, I can guarantee you in like a week, you're not going to be doing half the things that you're doing now. I was like, so just be ready. And that's probably my favorite step. And it's the first one. I love giving them, it's basically giving them permission to stop doing half of the things that aren't working anyway. It's what ends up getting them overwhelmed, stressed out, and burnt out because they're sitting there spinning their wheels and pouring all their time and energy into these things that are not bringing in results. And it's just giving them that permission to be like, listen, you're focused, you're doing the wrong things. Like, it's not you, it's the wrong things, So it's like reining them in, and I call them business blinders, and putting business blinders on and letting them hone in and focus on those profit making tasks first. And that's it. Like, they don't get permission to be updating that website for the millionth time, or that blog that only their mom reads. Like, stop writing it, stop doing it. It's sucking your time. So that's probably definitely my favorite part.
yeah. So what areas do you like to make sure that they're spending their time in? So what does that look like for you? Like, where do you like know the biggest return for your bank is?
Yeah. So, I mean, we go through this exercise where it's following the money, and they go through and they figure out, and a lot of times, actually almost every time, they have giant holes. So we'll follow the trail of money, and then they'll be like, okay, maybe they're getting their clients from, say, social media. Some of them, maybe it was family, friends, or a referral, right? And then on the outside, they're doing social media posting every day. They're doing blogging. They're doing Pinterest. Someone told them over here to go check out LinkedIn, so they're trying to figure that out, right? So we cut out all the ones that aren't producing results. It doesn't mean we can't add those in later once we've created systems and they have everything automated. But then, like, the gaping hole there would be referrals. What are you doing to bring in more referrals? Well, nothing. Oh, okay. So half your money's coming from referrals, and you were just hoping it would happen again, right?
Yeah.
So then we build in key tasks, maybe onto the onboarding system or the offboarding of clients, whatever that looks like for in their business, to bring in, give them extra incentives, let people know about their referral, build in a referral bonus, whatever that looks like and works for their company and their clients, and building that in, because there's so many times that there's like, a money pot and there's nothing connected to it. It just is like oops, that was nice, So we're like, no, we don't want that to be an oops. We want that to happen again and again.
Yeah. And especially if it's like the referrals, like the people that you've just finished working with or that you've been working with, like they love you because they're around for a reason, right? Like they love working with you. They're what I call like a raving fan at that point. So why not tap into it and make sure that you're getting as much from that as possible? Who do they know? Because if they're going to be talking about you, and it's just like with anything, right? Like a restaurant. If you go to a restaurant and you love it, you go tell 10 friends. If you hate it, you're going to tell 100 friends. So make sure that they love you, but that they're telling those 10 people that might be great possible clients for you in the future too. Like, hey,
Yeah.
come work with this person. Like, this is what I've learned so far. Like, and have them make those introductions for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's as simple as asking. Like last night, we went out to a restaurant and the waiter, I mean, here we're in Europe, people are just starting to open up. So it's, it's quiet still.
Yeah.
And our waiter was amazing. And at the end, he gave us his card and he was like, please, can you fill this out and give us a review? Like he asked. Had we would have had a lovely time and then moved on, and it wasn't like being mean. You just don't think about it. So all he had to do was ask, and absolutely, we're going to go on there and write a review. And guess what? That, is going to get him more clients, more customers. And that's all it takes.
Yeah. No, and it's so true. Like we forget to ask. And a lot of times, like you just said, like people are going about their business, they're living their lives, they're doing their day-to-day things. They don't think like, oh, what could I do to help this person be more successful?
Right.
Where they would love to do it and they would rave about you if they had thought about it. But I don't think about that stuff. Like I just go about my day.
Oh,
but as soon as somebody says like, hey, do you mind taking 2 minutes and filling out the survey? Or, hey, can you go to my website or onto LinkedIn or onto Google and leave a review? Like those things matter so much, especially to smaller business owners that like coaches and consultants and those type industries, because people want to know what results you've been given, what's working for you, what's not working for you. And the more testimonials and more reviews that you can get, the easier it is for other people to buy into it as well, because it's kind of like that unknown, right? When you're a consultant or you're a service-based entrepreneur, like people don't know what they don't know. They don't know how you're going to help them.
It's like the mystery box. No, that's so true. Yeah. And I help my clients with that, like create a system within your business where you are going through the steps and you're doing that every single time, because then it's how you fuel your business. Like you said, that's what then brings in the next people. And so every step you're like, okay, I'm finishing up this client, so I'm going to ask them to fill out this survey, which then I can post online for, a testimonial, and then I can ask them for referrals and we'll get that in, so yeah, absolutely. It's just integrating it into steps that you go through every single time so you don't miss it.
Yeah. And I'm big on having systems in place as well with my clients. It's so important. Like once you've created the wheel, like you've already, like, what you're doing, like write it down, create a standard operating platform so that you know how to do it if you need to. And then also if when your team's growing and you have a new hire that comes in, or if you decide it's time to hire a virtual assistant, like you don't have to think about what you do or just expect them to know what to do. You're like, here's how to do it. These are all the steps we follow. And from here to here, like we're going to be able to go through the whole entire process. And then we're also going to get that testimonial. We're going to get that referral. We're going to like do all these things. And it doesn't have to be like hard and complex and like you don't have to remember what to do. Like create a system that works like clockwork every single time, and you can do it, or you can pass it on to somebody else on your team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I tell my team. So we track everything that we do and have systems for everything that we do. And I said, like, basically it should be written down on a piece of paper, and you should be able to hand it off to anybody. And even if they know absolutely nothing about your business, it's so simple and broken down that anybody can step in and do that place, because you never know. Or so many times clients, they're swamped and they needed a VA or an assistant or, something delegated or outsourced. And it's like a month ago, they should have had it a month ago. And then they panic and they're like, well, because then it becomes a whole nother project to be able to even have help, because they have to then train that person or teach them, what in the world's going on, and they're coming into essentially a mess. Whereas if you have the SOPs in the back end, it's so easy to just be like ready to go. Like as soon as you find someone, you can get started. Here you go,
Yeah. I'm so glad you just brought that up, because I think it's so important that we actually hire before we need somebody in our business, because of that exact same reason. Because if you hire when you like are drowning, like it's so hard to like train somebody in the proper way, right? Like you can kind of crash course somebody and hopefully you have somebody who can pick it up quick. But that's what burns a lot of VAs and assistants out too, is because they come in so into the fire, and then not getting the support that they needed. And then they leave just as quickly because they didn't get the support and the training they needed to feel like they were adequately able to do their job. So
Yeah.
even if you need to start small and have somebody come in, 2 hours a week or 5 hours a week, just to get yourself going, even if you don't quite need it yet, where maybe you're giving them tasks that maybe you could do. I think that's important too, is making sure you have somebody who's even around us a little bit, who you can hand some of that over to. And then as you get busier and as things get more crazy, hopefully it's not crazy, but like just a lot more going on, you're able to you already have that right-hand person there where you're like, okay, like I was giving you 2 hours a week. Like we have this big project coming up. Can you do 5 hours? Can you do 10?
Yeah.
And then you're not like scrambling, trying to do it all yourself.
Exactly.
And then you're back into like that corporate world mentality, right? Where you're working 60 hours a week all of a sudden because you can't even train somebody because you're so overwhelmed. So yeah, I love that systems is a big part of what you're teaching entrepreneurs, because so often a lot of entrepreneurs wait until it's too late, and then they feel like it's even worse and they have to like rebuild that whole process up.
Yeah, it's always the entrepreneurs that need it the most that don't have it, because they're like, oh, I'm so swamped and I'm overwhelmed and I just don't have enough time. I'm like, that's why you have that.
Yeah.
Because then that's what gives you more time, and it's like a breath of fresh air in your business and lets you catch up rather than always feel like you're behind the wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. What have been some of like the biggest things that you feel like you've had to overcome with your business to get it to where it's at today?
Okay. Honestly, I feel like I'm always the bottleneck. So it was a huge transition. It was like, okay, I had this 7-figure business, brick and mortar, and then I transitioned it online. Then it's like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to do, this business coaching and digital strategy and hop right in, but then it was like, it wasn't starting from scratch, but almost in some ways it really felt like that, because in my first business, it was like, okay, I'm selling this product. So I was so detached from it, it was like, well, that price, it's not me, right? So that was a huge hurdle for me, because then it's like, oh wait, I'm putting a dollar amount like on my knowledge and my time, so that was totally new to me. And I was like, oh, what is this? So that was a big hurdle in this one. And I'm like huge on personal growth, and I'm always listening, to business podcasts. And I don't think you can ever have too much knowledge. Given caveat, I don't want to be saying like go consume all the things, because I don't do that. But personal growth, that's always great and helpful. But yeah, so I think definitely, it's just limiting beliefs. And even just personally, like when you are your business, like if you are having an off week with your family, or you're just like in a personal funk, like that leaks into your business. So it's definitely, I think a lot of mindset comes into play. And I'm English, so I grew up very not woo-woo at all. So that's been all like new to me. And it's been, some things that are still a little out there for me, but that's been fun, like learning. And I definitely think a lot of it has, plays a big part into how you feel and your confidence, and just manifestation and thinking positive, what have you. I think it really impacts your business and how you feel.
I love that you brought that up, because I feel like the longer I've been an entrepreneur, because I'm on year 13, 14, no, 15, I don't know, a lot of years now.
One of those.
13, 14 years I've had my business, and the longer I've been in business, the more woo I feel like I'm becoming. Like I've always,
that's a thing.
Yeah, like I'm always like, okay, I need to start using these essential oils, and I need to have, I need a rock, or I need like, I need to meditate, a crystal. Like I'm like, and it's funny because when I first started my business, I would probably say I was like you, like very far away from like the woo mentality. And now my husband calls me like a witch doctor, because I love essential oils, and I'll light a candle before coaching sessions so that at the end of it, I can blow it out to like close that space. And it felt really weird at first when I had heard to do that. And then now that I do it, I like love it. Like it's like a way to close out, because I'm definitely the type of person, like I can hold on to everybody else's stuff. Like I'll be thinking about it for days. Like if you tell me something in your world that's going on, if I don't give myself those boundaries and like close out that container, like I can worry about it and it's not in my control at all, right? But it's something that will keep me up late at night. And as a coach, like that was something I learned really quickly. Like I can't hold on to my clients' struggles and worries. Like I can coach them and work them through it, and I can hold space for them energetically. But at the end of our session, like I needed a way to like close that off. And for me, that was having a candle that I just blow out, like, okay, that's closing that. And now I'm able to focus and go on to something else. And it doesn't mean that I'm not worried about what my client has going on, but I'm not holding it like I can make the change. I'm holding energy to help them, support them to make the change, but I'm not going to do it for them. So
I love
that. That was like a woo piece for me, that I was like, wait, I'm lighting a candle and I'm blowing a candle out. Like, what is happening here?
Right.
But it's definitely helped me as just a human. I feel like as a human being, like to show up in a different way and to be able to hold space for people in a different way. The more woo I've allowed myself to be, like I've been able to go further in my career. I've been able to do things that maybe I thought I couldn't do in the past, because I was learning new ways to cope with things and to hold on to different spaces. So I love that, like the woo, something that you're growing into too, because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs are this way too. Like we're all like lifetime learners. We love to learn. We love to do self-development, and like owning a business is probably the best tool any of us can ever give ourselves for personal development. Like there's nothing that's going to make you develop more as a human being than
whether you want to or not. Absolutely. It's like pushing you off a cliff.
Yeah, exactly. But it's given me the opportunity to learn so many different ways of thinking and doing things and showing up in different ways. So I just love that piece of it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And another one that I've really gotten into is like the different personalities as well. And so I think that's so interesting, like the Enneagrams. And if you've heard of Gretchen Rubin, she has the 4 tendencies.
I'm an obliger all the way.
Are you?
I am.
Okay. I was an obliger, and I'm moving more towards like questioner. And my husband's an upholder. So yeah, like it's just kind of funny. Like, and I think like once you can start recognizing that. And so I was like working with someone, and she kept missing our coaching calls. And I was like, I cannot, like time is very valuable to me. Like I'm holding this space, and, I expect to say, and she was a rebel. And I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Because it was like, once you know how people think and how they function, one, that plays so hugely into their business and how that's going to work for them and what works for them, but also how you relate and connect and work with other people as well. It helps really identify that stuff.
Absolutely. And I've even gotten into like human design in the past like year or so, like learning about what my human design is and like what that means and how I show up in the world and like what I'm really good at doing. And then also what areas like I'm not great at doing. So I need to get extra support, or I need to do things in a different way to show up in a way that feels good to me, that doesn't feel like I'm pulling my hair out and going crazy. So
yes, I love that. Yeah, I walk my clients through, I call it my self systems, and that's where we dive into that. And it's like you need to basically double down on your strengths and make them like your superpowers, and then your weaknesses, that's where you really build in the structure, so they are no longer, they're not going to derail your business anymore. It doesn't mean they don't exist, but it's like, like little bumper pads, if you will.
Yeah. And then finding, like, recognizing like what are your strengths and doing more of that, and then where your weaknesses are, making sure you hire for those pieces, or you're bringing the right support team in, or you're setting up a system for yourself that supports your weakness, so that like if that's not your strength, like don't put all your time and energy into it. If it's going to take you 20 hours to do something that would take somebody else 2 minutes, like don't do that to yourself. Like focus where your zone of genius is and where you're really good at and what you're strong at, and then hire those around you to make sure that they, like you balance each other out.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, especially like the solopreneurs, or the ones that they're like, they're only making like $1,000 a month, or, whatever that looks like for them, where they're like, okay, I'm not making enough to hire somebody, and so they're holding on to that $20 bill, like with a death grip, but rather than, hiring that one VA out to do that one task that they hate, that's taking them 20 hours, and it takes that VA like 2 hours because they're actually good at it. You know what I mean? And then they could actually not be losing that energy and that frustration, and being pouring it back into their business where they actually thrive at and are good at, and then be making more money rather than that $20 bill that they're worried about, you know?
Yeah. And it's so worth like knowing what you're really good at and then like filling that hole with something else instead of stressing out and take like your example, like you spend 20 hours doing it. But if you would have gave the $20 away, like you would have gave yourself, you know, time freedom, energy freedom. Like you could have done whatever you wanted to do with that time, or you could have done what you're really good at and produced $2,000.
Yep.
And then paid somebody 20 or $40 to do that other task. And then you're like, oh wait, that makes so much more sense now. But we're so afraid, I feel like, or at least a lot of my clients are. And I think even I was in the beginning too. Like it took me a long time to hire my first VA because I was like, well, I need to make this money. Like I need to pay these bills and I need to cover these expenses. So if I'm paying somebody else, then I'm not going to have that money. But then when I started doing that, it alleviated so much more time to do the income producing activities. And I was like, oh wait, this is like a no brainer. Like I need more of that.
No, I think that's such a common trip up in the beginning. I think so many people do that. They're like, well, I can't hire out. Like they have some number, whatever it is in their head. And they're like, when I hit this, but they'll never hit that number because there's only so many hours in the day and you can't do it all. So
what do you think has been like one of your biggest successes to being successful in business? Like if you were doing it over again, or if you had to do it again, like what would you have done earlier in life?
I would have done everything different. No.
Right.
Well, no, I think especially, and like, honestly, I'm trying to like tap back into what I had. So my first business I founded when I was, I think like 18, 19. And I think the best thing I had going for me was I had no fear. And I think it really was just like ignorance because I didn't know any better. But like I was fresh out of university. So I had like 2 pennies to rub together. And it was like, I went knocking door to door at a boutique. And it was like, hey, I sewed this dress. Do you like it? Like, will you buy this? I'll make more. Like, that's literally what I did. And, you know, some people were like, no, like you need line sheets. And I was like, what are line sheets? And then they'd tell me and I'd go home and I'd make up and then I'd come back and I'd be like, okay, will you buy them now? Like, and then they said, yes, you know, and then I kept going and doing it more. So honestly, it was just like, I don't know if it was like stupidity or confidence, but whatever it was, you know, it was just the gumption of going out there and doing it. Because I think as you get older, or even, you know, just certain personality types, I think we overthink things way too much. And like a lot of people are afraid to put themselves out there. And I know some of my clients, they didn't even want to like put on Facebook that they started a business. And I was like, what is going to happen? You know, like what is going to happen? And they're like, well, people might, I'm like, and then what? And they're like, well, and then they might like laugh or think I'm stupid. I was like, and then what? And they're like, well, that would be it. And I was like, cool. Did you die? No, you're fine. So go do it. You know, so it's really just like jumping in, diving in and going for it, I think is the best.
It's so funny to me. Yeah, it's so funny to me how fear shows up in so many different ways. Like some people don't even know they should be afraid, like your example, which I love. Like,
right.
You're like, I just knew I had to do it. And like, it was like that confidence piece. And then other people worry, like, what are people going to think? Or what are people going to say? And what if I fail? And what if I succeed? And like, what if, like, and we let that stuff play so much into what we're doing that it makes it almost like, it holds you back from stepping into who you truly are. And when you just like, I know for myself, like when I just take that next step and I do whatever it is, like I have a mantra, I do scary things. Like, so when I'm in that moment and I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to do this. I'm like, okay, it's okay. Like you do scary things. It's okay. Like do one scary thing today, Darlene. Like you got this and I'll go and do it. And I'm like, wait, what was I scared of? Like, why was I scared to do that? Like,
exactly.
Like you said, did you die? No. Did you survive it? Yes. Was it as scary as you like made it out to be? No, it never is.
Almost never. Yeah. I laugh because my daughter's in the room, but I always make her, when she says she can't do stuff, I make her yell, I can do hard things.
Yes. I love it.
So she hates that now, but I make her do it all the time.
Yeah. But I think
so
we learn too, like, cause I do similar stuff with my daughter. I'm like the stuff that I know she's just afraid to do because I used to be afraid to do it too. Or like she's very shy and quiet and timid. And I was that way when I was in school. And like, if you would ask me when I was in elementary or junior high or high school, even if I could like stand in front of a group of people and like lead a presentation or like do a keynote talk, I probably would have been like, absolutely not, never, I will die. Like, no, I can't do it. And I've done it now as an adult, and I love it. Like, it still gives me like that nerves and the anxiety piece, but like I can get through it. And so I'm always telling her, like, you can do it. Like, you just have to, like, you know, pretend like everybody's, I actually haven't said this to her, like, pretend like everybody's naked, like just stand there in front of the group. But I'm like, you can do this. Like, you have to believe in yourself. Like, no one else is going to do it for you. And I try to instill like some of those things that I wish I would have done when I was a kid
right?
to
Yeah, me
her,
too.
because it's like, I don't want her to have those same like fears and blocks that I had to overcome. Like, I'm like, can we just make it easy for you? Like, this is what mom's
right before they even get in the bad habits. Teach them young. No, I totally agree. Funny story, I actually I went into my dean's office when I was in university, and speech class was you had to take it to graduate. And I literally went in tears, and I was like, if you make me take this class, like, my death will be on your hands. Like, I will die of embarrassment. And he was like, like, didn't know what to do with this like crying teenage girl. So I totally got out of it, and he let me take something else. And then joke was on me, because a year later at Fashion Week, I had to speak in front of thousands. So like, I guess he probably got the last laugh. But now, I mean, it's whatever. It is what it is. And I still, like you said, I still get nervous and whatever, but it's like, it's a good nervous. And I think it's good to push yourself and work outside of your comfort zone and do it scared.
Yeah, exactly. Do it scared. I love that. Awesome. Brittany, this has been so fun. Before we kind of like wrap things up, I always ask a couple rapid fire questions at the end to all my guests. So I'm going to ask them to you real quick, and we'll go through them. Do you have a morning routine? And if so, what is it?
Okay. Yes. Most mornings. So most mornings, I just splurged and bought myself a latte machine. So I make my latte. Nice. I feed my girls breakfast. I journal. And then sometimes if I'm really good, I'll meditate. I am trying to get better at that, but it's a little hit or miss. And then I pick out my top 3. I call them my top 3 for the day of what I'm going to be focusing on and accomplishing for that day. And then I start work.
Awesome. Love it. And who would you say has been the person that's made the biggest influence in your life?
Oh, geez. I have a lot. I'm really, really fortunate. I have a lot of people that have inspired me and impacted me. But I'll say I call her my nanny. It was my mom's mom, and she was just an amazing spitfire of a woman. And I think she taught me more than anything. Like, she always just walked to the beat of her own drum, and it like didn't matter what was expected, and especially back then, what was, traditional or whatever. And she just did, whatever she wanted. And I loved that about her. And that probably really, really inspired me.
Such a perfect role model, right? For like stepping out and just being you and showing up as yourself and not worried about what other people think or what other people are going to say or do. Like, and that showed like when you shared, like you were walking into boutiques and just like, here's my dress. Like, I can
unapologetically you. Like, this is it. Take me or leave me.
No, and it's so important, I feel like, to just be you. Like, that's my whole platform for my business, right? Is like attracting your people to you and standing out online and just showing up as your true self. Because when you try to be anybody else or emulate what other people are doing, like, it never works for you. So why even take the time to try so hard to be somebody you're not, when you can just be you?
I know, it's so much easier, but I know we all get tripped up on it, but it's true.
It is. And what's your happy spot? Like, if you just need to reset and recharge and go back to your, like, where you need to be, like your Zen spot, like, where do you like to go? What do you like to do?
Probably I'm really boring. Probably my bedroom. It's just kind of our chill spot. Me and my husband, like, when he gets home late a lot, and we'll just go in, and that's where we catch up on our day. And it's usually quiet. Sometimes the kids sneak in, but but that's just where we hang out and watch Netflix and
perfect.
Sleep. It's nice.
Perfect. Yeah, it's nice to have. I feel like, especially during these times, like, I've been figuring out what that is in my home. because we haven't, like, usually if I really need to recharge and reset, like I would be like, I need to go to the beach. Like I need to like put my toes in the sand, hear the ocean, smell the salt in the air. But now it's like my backyard. I just go sit out on my, like we have a little courtyard area with like an outdoor couch. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can reset really easily out there. Like just go sit, like the birds are chirping. Like it's always pretty nice in California. Like our weather is usually pretty decent. So it's always like nice just like be able to step somewhere in my home versus where before I'd be like, oh, I have to go to the beach or I have to go near water. I need to like do different things. It's good to have a place. I feel like that's just as zen in your home as outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you shouldn't have to wait to be able to go on a trip to chill out.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's nice to have it daily.
Yes, absolutely. And you're traveling right now, but if I was like, my normal question is, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Well, London, apparently.
Are you there, or somewhere else that you'd love to go to?
Greece is on the top of my list lately. So I'd love to go to Greece, but London, we're in London. It was kind of an impromptu before my husband has a whole bunch of work stuff coming up. But we just wanted to get out for a little bit. So
it's nice to like, even though like you can't do a ton right now, like even if you can go to a different city or a different place to like just get away for a couple of days and like set your mind. I love that.
Yeah, so it's been fun.
Awesome. Well, I know everybody's going to want to connect with you. Where do you like to hang out? Where do you like people to, where do you want your people to come find you at? Instagram, Facebook?
Yes. So Facebook girl, definitely at Simply Happy Brittany. And I've actually been hanging out on Instagram a lot. I do mainly like more behind the scenes stories and just you'll see a lot of my kids. So if you don't want to see my kids, don't follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. But if you're okay with cute babies, then come find me on Instagram.
Awesome. And I know you have a free gift for everybody as well. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, I've got how to cut your working hours in half, and it's a 5-video series training. And so I'd love to gift your listeners for free. So it's just 5 videos, short, sweet, to the punch, and it's going to help you really kind of what we talked about today, define that core and where your money's coming in, and walk you through step by step how you can cut out the busy work and say sayonara. And cut those hours in half.
Yes, and so needed during this time and day and age where our worlds are upside down. So you might as well make it as simple as possible so that you can binge Netflix with your family or go for a walk or do whatever you want to do.
Yes, recharge, you time. Yes, absolutely. So needed right now.
Absolutely. Well, Brittany, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been so fun catching up with you and having you on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.